Doctors noticed something coming out of baby's head. They find out what it was. It left them in awe. When this kid was born, doctors discovered something coming out of his skull. What they saw was really stunning, and when they found out what it left them in amazement. Sierra and Dustin Yoda were over the moon when they heard they were pregnant with their second child. Theirs has always been a worldwide romance, yet they weathered the storm and got married shortly after getting hitched. They had their first child, Bo. The first time Sierra got pregnant, she and Dustin made sure they did everything right, even though first-time pregnancies are normally highly demanding. Now that Sierra was pregnant with a second child, they were well armed with all the information, supplements needed for the pregnancy. They were certain it was going to be a smooth and ideal voyage, but it was nothing short of an emotional roller coaster. Sierra and Dustin weren't people who love surprises, so they couldn't wait to find out the gender of their baby. "I want a girl I can play dress-up with, and who will be a little me," Sierra would remark. And Dustin would reply, "My son and I would crush the Little League teams." If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to be inspired by these real-life stories on a daily basis. Now, let's return to the story. Weeks later, they went in for an ultrasound scan to obtain a gender reveal. Unfortunately, they would get to discover something far from whatever wonderful notions they'd been putting in their heads. Halfway through the scan, the doctor's look turned one of anxiety, and this made Sierra and Dustin panic. The physicians then told them they'd be having a boy and urgently advised them to see a neurosurgeon in the next room. Upon hearing this, Sierra's heart rushed into her throat, and Dustin swiftly threw his arms around her. Although he was terrified of his wits, he decided it was best not to show it. "Why do we need to see a neurosurgeon?" Sierra questioned no one in particular, and Dustin was too lost in his thoughts to even hear her. Upon coming to the office, they had hardly had their seat when the doctor said something was wrong with the unborn baby right there. He diagnosed the infant with encephalocele, a sacal-like protrusion or projection of the brain and the membranes that enclose it through an orifice in the skull. As much as the doctor tried to explain what it meant, Sierra just kept staring at him. She'd done everything correctly, taken her pills, exercised, so why did this have to happen to her? She screamed, and Dustin, who was seated alongside her, was too numb to comfort her. But even this diagnosis wasn't the most terrible part, and the doctor was just about to get to it. With the parents peering deep into his eyes, the doctor told them the boy wouldn't live, and he urged termination. After a little back and forth, Sierra and Dustin agreed. However, on the intended date of the abortion, Sierra and Dustin felt differently, and they halted the abortion arrangements that morning. "We couldn't even look into each other's eyes, and that's when we knew we were heading the wrong way. We decided to give our boy a chance. We wanted to meet him and love him for as long as he lived. We didn't even care if it was a few seconds," Sierra explained, so they called to cancel the abortion. Afterward, they spent the remaining length of the pregnancy preparing to say goodbye to their darling baby. Then, on Halloween night, while the family was getting dressed in their costumes, Sierra's water broke. She instantly notified Dustin about it, and the family went to the hospital. Dustin also placed a call to close family members to warn them that Sierra was in labor and they needed to rush to the hospital as soon as they could. "We wanted everyone to be present as he was departing. We wanted to show them that there are so many individuals who loved him," Dustin added. That day, the family took them a onesie with matching pants and a pair of socks. This was the clothing they wanted to bury their son in. Neither of them was prepared for what was going to happen. A few minutes after Sierra was taken into the operating room, she delivered their son, Bentley Ross Yoder. Tears filled the family's eyes as soon as they saw him. He was such a cute boy, and they couldn't fathom he wouldn't be with them anymore. So they held him in their hands and couldn't stop looking at him. Everyone was so sure the youngster was living his last hour. The tension in the room was apparent. They were anticipating the child to be quiet and dull. Bentley's actions were stunning. He was quite active and yelled out loud like any other newborn. Bo was also permitted to hold her sibling. The small girl, who didn't comprehend her sibling could pass away at any time, said, "Can we go home with my baby brother? Let's get some McDonald's chicken." He's extremely hungry and wouldn't stop sobbing. Bo's childlike remarks hurt everyone in the room. But the next few minutes, everyone began to see through her optimism. What was happening wasn't exactly what they had all prepared for. Bentley kept on breathing and whimpering. Would he stop the following minute or the one after that? Each of them pondered. As hours passed, family members took turns to deliver loving farewell words to the boy. But even after 36 hours, the only thing they could observe happening was that Bentley seemed great. Neither of them knew what to do as they were preparing for a funeral, that they couldn't help but feel a shock of hope as the young child continued breathing. After so many hours, the physicians arranged for him to be escorted home with his family, and he was placed in hospice care. On reaching home, Dustin and Sierra grabbed onto their small ray of hope, praying that this wouldn't be a cruel prank from the cosmos. Months later, Bentley continued to thrive. He was weeping, playing, eating, and doing all cognitive tasks like any other child. At this moment, his parents were more than ready to do whatever to provide him a better life. So they looked for solutions to the protrusion outside of his skull. After a comprehensive inquiry, they ended up at Boston's Children's Hospital. Here, they were told there would be a method to enlarge Bentley's skull and put the brain into it. This was the best solution they'd ever heard. They were eager to try anything to save their young baby. Plans and investigation were carried out, and soon a date was set for the procedure. But will things go as the doctors had planned? We were very anxious, right from the research up to the date of the surgery. Numerous thoughts raced through our brains. But one thing we knew was that our boy was a warrior. He had surmounted all odds, and that gave us hope. Bentley was our strength, Dustin remarked. As the physicians operated on the youngster, family members gathered around the waiting room. They all held hands and prayed the boy would make it. The surgery required fluid to be drained from Bentley's head so surgeons could move the brain back inside his skull. Afterwards, the leftover bones were then used to fill the breach and rebuild the skull. Fortunately, everyone's labor didn't go to waste. 5 hours later, the chief surgeon came out and informed the family the surgery was a success. The family was happy, but they were also apprehensive because the doctors had warned them there could be issues. But there was nothing to worry about. Hours after the surgery, tiny Bentley woke up and he stared at every one of them. He had so much vitality in his bright, gorgeous eyes. He looked fine, like nothing had just happened. He just lied there staring at us, as if to say, "Why are you staring at me?" It was such a gorgeous view, Sierra added, laughing. After a few weeks, Bentley was discharged and he went home with his family. They returned to the hospital a few times for checkups and treatment. Several months have now gone, and Bentley, who's not so little anymore, is doing just great. The boy continues to recover at an incredible rate. Although his parents realize he might encounter some health issues as he grows, they're hopeful of his future and are taking things one step at a time. Their greatest motivator is that Bentley fought for his life straight from the womb, and they're positive he'll keep on fighting. He brought optimism to his family, even when they were at their lowest. So everyone's giving him all the support and love he needs, believing things will get better. As for Sierra, she keeps saying we're just so grateful we took a risk on him. He's simply so sweet, and sometimes I even weep knowing I could have missed out on all of this. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone else who might enjoy it as well. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.